You mentioned in conversation with Eric Weinstein on the Portal podcast that 2001 Space Odyssey is your favorite movie. Which aspect, if you could mention, of its representation of artificial intelligence, science, engineering connected with you?
There are all sorts of scenes there which are so amazing. And how science was so well done. I mean, people say, oh no, Interstellar is this amazing movie, which is the most scientific movie. But I thought it's not a patch on 2001. I mean, 2001, they really went into all sorts of details about getting the free fall well done and everything. I thought it was extremely well done.
So just the details were mesmerizing.
And also things like the scene where at the beginning they have these sort of human ancestors, which are sort of
right,
or sort of apes becoming
the monolith.
Yes, and well, it's the one where he throws the bone up into the air, and then it becomes this. I mean, that's an amazing sequence there.
What do you make of the monolith? Does it have any scientific or philosophical meaning to you? This kind of thing that sparks innovation?
Not really. That comes from Arthur C. Clarke. I was always a great fan of Arthur C. Clarke.
So it's just a nice plot device.
Yeah, the plot is excellent, yes. Yeah.
So HAL 9000 decides to get rid of the astronauts because she believes that they will interfere with the mission.
That's right. Well, there you are. It's this view. I don't know whether I disagree with it, because in a certain sense it was telling you it's wrong. See, the machine seemed to think it was superior to the human, and so it was entitled to get rid of the human beings and run the show itself.
Well, do you think HAL did the right thing? Do you think HAL is flawed, evil? Or if we think about systems like HAL, would we want HAL to do the same thing in the future? What was the flaw there?
Well, you're basically touching on questions, you see. Is one supposed to believe that HAL was actually conscious? I mean, it was played rather that way, as though HAL was a conscious being.
Because HAL showed some pain, some cognizant. HAL appeared to be cognizant of what it means to die.
Yes,
and therefore had that.
Yes, that's true. Yes,
an inkling of consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that aspect of it was made completely clear, whether HAL was really just a very sophisticated computer, which really didn't actually have these feelings, and somehow. But you're right, it didn't like the idea of being turned off.
How does it change things if HAL was or wasn't conscious?
Well, it might say that it would be wrong to turn it off if it was actually conscious. I mean, these questions arise if you think. I mean, AI, one of the ideas, it's sort of a mixture in a sense. You say, if it's trying to do everything a human can do, and if you take the view that consciousness is something which would come along when the computer is sufficiently complicated, sufficiently whatever criterion you use to characterize its consciousness in terms of some computational criterion.
So how does consciousness change our evaluation of the decision that HAL made?
Well, I guess I was trying to say that people are a bit confused about this. Because if they say these machines will become conscious, but just simply because it's a degree of computation, and when you get beyond that certain degree of computation, it will become conscious, then of course you have all these problems. I mean, you might say, well, one of the reasons you're doing AI is because you want to send a device out to some distant planet, and you don't want to send a human out there because then you'd have to bring it back again, and that costs you far more than just sending it there and leaving it there. But if this device is actually a conscious entity, then you have to face up to the fact that that's immoral. And so the mere fact that you're making some AI device and thinking that removes your responsibility to it would be incorrect. And so this is a kind of flaw in that kind of viewpoint. I'm not sure how, people who take it very seriously. I mean, I had this curious conversation with I'm going to forget names, I'm afraid, because this is what happens to me at the wrong moment. Douglas Hofstadter.
Douglas Hofstadter, yeah.
And he'd written this book,
Gödel, Escher.
which I liked. I thought it was a fantastic book. But I didn't agree with his conclusion from Gödel's theorem. I think he got it wrong, you see. Well, I just tell you my story, you see, because I'd never met him. And then I knew I was going to meet him. The occasion I realized he was coming in, he wanted to talk to me, and I said, that's fine. And I thought in my mind, well, I'm going to paint him into a corner, you see, because I'll use his arguments to convince him that certain numbers are conscious. You know, some integers, large enough integers, are actually conscious. And this was going to be my reductio ad absurdum. And so I started having this argument with him. He simply leapt into the corner. He didn't even need to be painted into it. He took the view that certain numbers were conscious. I thought that was a reductio ad absurdum, but he seemed to think it was perfectly reasonable point of view.
Without the absurdum there.
Yes.
Interesting. But